Good night to everyone. I just woke up not too long ago and I had a dream, and I love every dream I have, especially when I can remember it. And I believe that this dream that I had isn't the strongest to remember. I don't feel that the things that had happened in the dream are necessarily the most important, but for some reason, I chose to still write it down and to speak about it. And I know that when I do remember certain dreams moving forward, that I would be more intentional about it with writing it down, especially since my dreams are definitely out of this world. They're not so surface level. So I really do get to enjoy them intimately when I do intimately wake up and reflect on it. Even if I don't acknowledge it out loud, I ponder on it in my mind. So, really quickly, whatever I could remember, I wrote down. And whatever it was, I'm going to try to make sense of it. So I'm going to start with the first thing that I remember, which is probably the last thing that happened in my dream, because there was sequences of events. I remember I was home and I was appearing out the door. There was a worker in the yard. It seemed to be the worker was updating the outside of my apartment. As I watched him, he simply pulled back the covering of grass off the ground. Just like that. Like it rolled up like a scroll. And as that happened, underneath was ground and patches of green grass. And when my eyes seen that, I had this feeling and knowing that this is what it's supposed to look like. This is real. The patches in the ground of dirt. That it wasn't all even and it wasn't all green and grassy. That it was brown. That there was ground that I seen. And there was patches of green. To me, that's healthy. Because just because you water the ground doesn't mean every part of the ground is going to grow at the same capacity. The next time that I looked out, they had installed a green grass covering over it. So if I did not catch them the first time, I wouldn't have seen it. I wouldn't have seen what they were doing. And that alone was an illusion of itself. And I knew that. I didn't say it out loud, but I thought it. right when I opened back my door and I looked out, and now there's just green everywhere. I instantly knew that it was fake. Just like he pulled back the covering that was there once before. I guess it was time for a change. It wasn't maybe staying on the ground as properly. I don't know, but they changed it. And instead of embracing and keeping the original ground as it is, the patches of green, no, they simply again covered it up. That was all in my head. I didn't say anything. They didn't say anything. It was just like they were there to work and do what they were supposed to do. And I was in the dream to see it. So that was one event in my dream. Same event. The worker outside of my house was now in front of my door. I remember the next time I looked out, he was standing doing something to my window. And I was watching him very closely, almost like spying on him through my living room window. You see, my window was long, so I could see his whole body. He was literally standing at the window. I remember I passed by to go into my bedroom, but I noticed he seen me because I had no curtain, I had no blinds, and it was daytime. So when I went into my bedroom and I figured he seen me, I looked through my bedroom window to see what he was doing. And surprisingly, he appeared through my bedroom window inside of my apartment, inside of the window, inside my house now, before he was outside of the window. Instantly, I felt creeped out and it felt illusional. Next thing I know, I'm outside viewing my apartments and I see that there's this decoration, that there's some accessories that has been added to the outside exterior to make it appear perfect. The grass was a green solid covering. It was giving perfect community on a sunny day. And if people could see it, they'd be curious to come and, be interested. And then on the porch there was a collage of plastic balloons. They weren't real, but they were flattering to look at because they were all different colors. Every deck in front of every door had one. There was balloons, a collage of them. I also noticed that when I looked at my next door neighbor entryway, I noticed that she decorated it with a bench and candles, all the things that you could. And I just had that knowing that I couldn't do the same thing she'd done to her entryway. Almost like I wasn't allowed to. That was the knowing. I I knew that seeing all these things outside of my apartment, I remember thinking, well, this is a ripoff to me, because while they're revamping the outside of this place, inside is not flattering. I thought that it was deceiving. That was my thought. That was my exact thoughts. I knew that they were doing all this because they knew that they were rising the rent. Try to make sense of it. But even still, it was a ripoff. I knew it was because it looks good. It looks nice, whether it's fake or not. But they weren't going to change the inside. And that sucked, knowing that, while seeing the changes happening outside. So I think that was the end of that actual sequence of events, that actual event. I wrote it down just in case I needed to go back to it, but I'm actually able to not need it. But let me see, what was the other event? Okay. So actually I keep saying the next event, but this is still the same place. This was my home. So I remember there was folks around. Who knows who they were? Clearly they were some acquaintance, who knows? But I don't think, well, I know that that wasn't what I needed to get out of it. What happened was, now I had placed garbage bags outside my door because they actually come and pick it up. And a fridge appeared. So this was one of the events that was happening. I was inside my house now, and my fridge was in my living room, right? It was the focus. It was just the focus. Like, it appeared to me, and it was open. And I know that I needed to empty it. What was in the fridge and what I was emptying was just fruit and vegetables, which I've done time and time enough. Because the feeling was, it was time. The knowing was, they've been in there long enough. Even though it appeared that as I was throwing out the food, it seemed fresh. I remember throwing out cut watermelon that appeared fresh, but I knew that I didn't want it. I knew that it was in there. It was in this place, right? In this space long enough. I couldn't tell you how long, because the focus was, even though it didn't appear to look decaying, just to know it wasn't supposed to be there. I ended up throwing it out. So I had to take one of the garbage bags that wasn't filled to the top and use that to empty out everything that was in this fridge. And I did. I remember emptying the watermelon, and I remember emptying some bags of lettuce, greens. I've done this in real life many, many times. Many times. So I already knew what this was. I already knew what it meant. Later on, I remember that I received this email saying how, because remember earlier, I had put out some garbage bags, and they come to actually pick it up for us, and they're only required to pick up 2 bags, but there was an extra one. There was that one that I used to It was already a third one, but I knew that I used that third one even more to empty out everything that was in my fridge. So the email read that I owed $2 for that extra third bag. And the email was a document to fill out with the amount owed. And I remember thinking, what is this? And once I realized that it was me owing them something for the extra bag, I immediately thought, of course they charged me for it. Because I remember them saying that they're only required to take 3 bags. And I remember checking before I even went along with the email or took the next step. I looked just to make sure they took it. And they actually did. They took all the bags. And my last thought was, it's not surprising. And $2 is not that bad. You would have thought my thought was, what? They're charging me for this? It probably was, but by it being only $2 and not $5, I think made a huge difference. It would have. So I do know that was, I think, the end of that event. Let me just make sure. And this is just all the things that I can remember from my whole dream, all the sequence of events is. Okay. This dream alone wasn't something that I've spoken this when I first started this live, that every dream makes you feel something, especially if you remember it. You can wake up and remember it. Sometimes it may not be the whole sequence of events, because, or at least knowingly, you feel it's not all of the sequence of events, or you don't know. You just know what you know. And they all feel all different, right? They're all for whatever reason. And that's my point, that you take what you can take from it and you're grateful for it, right? I'm grateful for it every time that I can remember that I had a dream. Or the moment that I wake up, I'm waking up right fresh out of it. So even if I can't remember everything, I still remember that last sequence of events. And then I'll try to quiet my mind, right? I won't be so quick to distract myself, right? Some may turn the TV on or start speaking to someone, or I take a moment in my mind to try to recall it. But even still, my point is that, well, first and foremost, my dreamer world is life. But my whole point in this is that I think comparing my other dreams is something I shouldn't do, but I know it may not be as exciting. It may not be what I prefer, but I do know as I'm speaking about these certain events, I still see messages, right? So that's all that it comes down to. And so that's all that I'm doing. May not be a whole lot of really anything, but if you can take from it, then that's all that matters, because that's what the whole point of it is, to see something, to know something, to feel something. So, all right, next. So the first The first set of events that I said were very vivid. Everything now is kind of blurry. It's not so it makes sense, but there's not too much that I can really depict, so I'll try my best. I say that it's blurry because there's an event that I know that I'm missing. I know that happened. I just can't put my mind to it. So it's like almost like I'm skipping something, but it's okay. Because again, it's what we want to believe, that if we don't remember it, then we're not supposed to. And though we can't remember it on the surface, right? Consciously, my soul still knows. My soul will do what it needs to do with it. I was in the elevator with, at the time, it seemed two acquaintances. And it appeared that we were conversating about like exploring, almost like we were new to this place. One of the persons that were there said that, well, asked me if I wanted to come along. And I didn't know why I had this attitude about me. It was like I just shrugged my shoulders, almost like my spirit wasn't really sure. So I couldn't give a definite answer. So I shrugged my shoulders. And it was in a slow manner, a slow, calm manner. It wasn't in a, I don't care. Like, it was just, we'll see. Because at this moment, it seemed to be we were in an elevator, but in an apartment. And we weren't leaving just yet. It seemed to be that we were waiting on a ride, or at least they called a ride. And as I don't know what I was doing. Because again, me shrugging my shoulders was already now meaning that I wasn't really sure. So when I got into the apartment, I don't know what I was doing. It was almost like I was just, I guess, getting ready. Even though I was already ready, I was doing something. But that didn't matter. The focus was, once I looked back out, they were gone. The car, they didn't wait for me. It seemed to be they didn't take it upon themselves to check with me. They didn't check to or ask me again, like, are you coming, or we're leaving? It was more like, I needed to just stay. That's what it felt like. I just needed to stay where I was because they didn't ask me. They didn't wait for me. I shrugged my shoulders before I even knew if I was going, before I even entered the apartment to get anything. And that was that. And then the events changed. It seemed to be this was all my house. There was nothing showing that it was my house, but it was a home. Now, the first events was my home. I knew it was my home because it looked like my home. It was an open area with my windows. Okay. So, this event was a home. It was in the same place. We were in a home. I was in a home because they left. And now there was women around me because yes, those two acquaintances appear to be men. By their voices, there was nothing that I needed to describe about them because it wasn't to describe them. It was just I knew they were two men, two acquaintances. Now, since those two people left, it appeared that there were two women. They seemed to be acquaintances. I knew them. And a mother. So I think there was two women. There was a daughter and a mother. And then there was me. And here's a part where there's certain things that did happen. I just don't remember. But what I do remember is she was showcasing her her jewelry that she crafted, which was really nice and natural, and I was admiring it. And I remember saying to her, "Are you going to make more? I would like to purchase one." But I said that before I even knew if she was offering it for free. So that was more of courtesy, like, I would like to take one of these. I would like to. But I know that when I was looking at them, they were nice. I liked her natural way of creating it. It looked appealing to me. And I know there was a thought, like, because there was only 4 or 5 on display, and they were nice, and I was willing to choose one. But by me saying, "Oh, are you going to make more? Will there be more?" I think I wanted more of variety. Since there was only 4 or 5, they all looked nice. But I don't know. I think I wanted one that was black. They all were like colorful, and I liked it. I actually loved it. And again, this is one of the events that doesn't make sense to me in a way. Like, it doesn't hold like significance, right, to me as others may, right? But I'm still gonna milk it. And try to figure it out because it was very short lived. Once I was left, I can't even say I was left, because that's the thing. Was I really left? Did those guys really leave me because of lack of communication? But really, they could consider prior to them leaving that they did communicate with me, right? Or at least one of them. Did you want to come? Are you coming? You know, because it seemed to be that we were gonna explore something, go out and just explore, not really know what we were doing. And I just shrugged my shoulders. So once we got out of the elevator, we were into the apartment. I didn't really know what they were doing because it happened in like a minute. It was almost like, okay, the ride was outside. They realized it was while I was in the freaking kitchen or something, looking in something, or in the room looking, doing something. That's when they left. And then right when I something, I guess it got quiet. It within a minute, all of this within a minute, I realized, I'm like, wait. So I looked outside, and that's when my conscious allowed me to see, like, oh wait, they're gone. So trying to make sense of that is what I'm trying to depict. Was I really left? Did I ever want to go? I was meant to stay. So it's all those things. I didn't feel, I felt that they left me because that was what I initially questioned. Like, oh, they left. Why would they leave? But did I really want to go? No. No, I shrugged my shoulders. I don't think so. So that was my answer, and that's how people would take it. Especially nowadays, when you say I don't know, it gives the impression that that you don't care, but in a better way of saying it, because that's kind of not the best way to say or describe a person that does that. Instead of saying, oh, they don't care, no, no, no. It just could mean that, yes, they're not sure, but it's leaning more towards, I'm sure they'll be fine if we leave. I'm sure this person won't be too upset if we leave, because shrugging the shoulders is like, if you leave, you leave. If you don't, you don't. If you leave without me, you leave without me. So that's initially the feeling that I got when I realized they left, because I'm like, oh, they left, but I wasn't upset. I wasn't upset. So there's that. And then, like I said, it went into the lady showing her jewelry, and again, I to take from it, because this is my dreams. it was a simple fact that it was natural. If I could describe the materials, it wasn't like shells. I don't think it was shells. It was more like cloth too. Maybe it was a mixture of it, but it was very pretty. And they were necklaces, and there was only 4 or 5 of them, so there wasn't a lot. But she was showing us, and I seen it, so that was the whole point of it. Like, oh, this is nice. This is something I'd like. But that was it. I wanted to know if she would she'd be making more, maybe more colors, because you if you buy one that was colorful, it's like, oh, I wouldn't mind buying one that's just one whole color. So there was that, right? Milking it for what? Let's see, what else? So in that same room now seemed to be more open. Like, they weren't there, the 2 women weren't there, the 2 men were not there. They didn't never come back. Now it seemed to be that, yes, I was there with 2 other people, the woman and a man. The man seemed to be, again, these are things that are not important. He seemed to be maybe a family member. But I was there, and there was a woman with a child, little girl. And the woman was in the background. It was more, the focus was more me and the woman and the man that seemed to be a family acquaintance of me. I didn't really know who the woman was, but I was playing with the child, like in a way where I was trying to show her something. And in this room, right, in this home, the lights were on, so you could see, but I was holding a flashlight, I was holding a light up to this man, this acquaintance that I knew who he was. But I was trying to get the little girl to see, even though you would think that with the lights on she could see. But I was saying, can you see him now? Do you, like, almost like, do you know who this is, with the light on him? And we were following him, and I was just holding this light up to him. So I remember doing that, and then that was that. And this is nearing the end of my dream, or at least what I can remember. Let's just say the last few events of my dream, because my dream could have went on and on and on and on and on, but you only remember just like the half of it. See, I'm looking back at my notes, and I've said everything. I've said all of it, so that's good that I didn't need to look at the paper. Yeah, so this part that I wrote, I wasn't really gonna share, but this last part was literally the last thing that I had like subconsciously dreamt. This part as well is kind of blurry too, because I know there was a lot of things that led up to this place that I was in. But distinctly, I remember this event happening. And it's I just remember that it was almost like I was traveling with acquaintances, and we came to this place. I had a tank top on, and it's like we got to this place with all our things, and I remember passing this room, seeing it. It was an open room, there was no doors. It was like in a corner. That's how like intimate and so small it was. But I noticed that in this room There was a sink and like soaps, bar of soaps, a lot of soaps, like stock of soaps. And yeah, this place I've never been before. And I remember this lady coming up to me, because again, this is pretty much it. Like, this is what it is. She came up to me and she said something to me. And it wasn't in a, truthfully, it was in a manner where I would expect it to be because of what she said or what she was trying to mean. She said it in a disgusted way, but in a serious, like she was serious, but she was also disgusted. She said it in a mature way, but still disgusted. And can you be all those things? Can you be mature, disgusted, and serious at the same time? Yeah, because of what she was saying to me, that even me, myself, I know is how it would make a person feel. Right? And it's like you're knowing this about a person. And it's not a flattering thing. And you approach them about it because you are kind of disgusted, because it is in a way disgusting to anyone, let alone yourself. And she's serious about it because there's nothing to laugh about. Yeah, it's serious to the person that she's telling it to, because it's nothing that you can really change, but you can try, and that's what I took from it. I took from that last event that I tried, right? I tried to fix something before I could actually fix it. And I know that before I could even fix it, she took notice of it and she approached me on it. And that was her demeanor. And what she said, let me say what she said. This was the hard part, waking up, trying to remember. Yeah, I was trying to remember exactly the words she said, but I could only go around it. It was deep. It came from a deep place because that was the message. And it was along the lines of, let me see what I wrote down. It was along the lines of, this might not be exactly what she said, but it was something so deep that it was along the lines of, it's deep in you and it's coming up out of you. Yeah. That's what pretty much she said in a serious, mature, disgusted way. It's deep in you and it's coming up out of you. And she approached me and she said that in my ear as I was attempting to fix something. It made me feel, already with this happening, I already was aware. I was already knowing what I needed to do, what I needed to fix. But her saying it and making a more awareness to it, all I had to say was that it was true. All that I have to say is that it's true. And that was it. That was the dream. Very interesting, right? my dreams, like I've mentioned before, they're not I don't know. Like, I don't know what people dream about. But I know that the genre of my dreams, or just the feelings around it, it's not like just a peaceful one. It's more like figuring it out, and it feels real. That's the thing. It feels authentic to me. It feels like the life that I live, or the life that I've lived. It doesn't feel foreign to me. So anything that I dream, it's not out of the ordinary. It's not. It's still a reflection of my soul in a way. My soul and my body, what I'm going through, what I need to figure out, what I need to just realize to not do, something along those lines. Yeah, there's even when there's times where I dream about what I've dreamt about, because I wouldn't say my dreams are ever really the same, or I'm dreaming about something from yesterday. Yeah, there's dreams like I've discussed about context to this world, right? I can have a dream about somebody that I've seen on TV. Nothing serious, but I've seen them in my dream. You know what that is, right? So it could be a lot of everything, right? Just like what influences it, like, oh, what I'm watching, what I'm eating, how I'm feeling, how deep in the dream, how deep in my sleep can I be. So all those things are a factor. But just so that's what I mean. Outside of those things, generally my dreams that are sent to me, that I know are God sent, that are like, oh, the kitty. Um I'm so nosy that I'm like, I need to go see. I need to go see what's going on. Anyways, I'm just milking it that, yeah, you just know when the dreams are, those sort of dreams come about. The dreams that make you try to think about, figure out, the ones that you wake up and you're just like, wow, huh, I was just in that place again, right? Or in that world again. And it's trying to tell me something, right? It's reminding me of something, of someone, somewhere. Those sort of dreams are pretty much what I mean. And I'll leave it there.